The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of Living United with Nashua Business. I have today with me Dr. Richard Boehler. He goes by Rich. He'll probably correct me on that. From St. Joseph's Hospital. Dr. Boehler is the president and CEO of St. Joseph's Hospital. Of course, here in Greater Nashua, pretty certain that not a person you will meet on the street who has not heard of the hospital and had some sort of an interaction at some point in their lives with the hospital, being born there or otherwise. So thank you, Dr. Boehler, and welcome to our show.
Thanks. I'm really happy to be here. Appreciate your inviting me, Mike.
Well, I should always say, I always lead with a truth in advertising clause. Dr. Boehler is a member of the board of directors at United Way. Yep. So that's not the reason why we're having the conversation, but it's something I always would want our viewers to know about so that they can understand the context of the conversation a little bit better.
Yeah, makes sense. Good.
So I want to start out with some personal stuff. You are, as I've learned that they say here, you're from away, right?
Yes.
So I'm from away. I'm from far away. I don't think you're from as far away as that. But your perspective is, I think you've been here in Nashua for a couple of years now?
A little over 3, Mike. Yeah.
So,
yep.
I know that New Englanders, in New England terms, you're definitely new.
Totally.
And that takes, I think, generations to change that sometimes. But your perspective is unique, and I'd like to talk about where did you come from, and what's the path that has brought you here to Nashua?
That's great. I should qualify it and say I used to come a lot in the summer and winter to Waterville Valley. So I have a little honorable time there that I could pull into.
So not only are you from away, but you're also a flatlander. So that's a double strike against you.
Totally.
You know that, right?
Right. So most of my career, most of my life has been in Albany, New York. And while I grew up in Long Island, moved up to Albany as a young man to go to SUNY Albany. And everything then has flowed from there. Went to undergraduate school, graduate school, medical school, practiced there for a number of years, and then I got wanderlust in 2001. So then everything changed from that point.
So 2001, how far along were you in your education at that point?
Oh, I had been working as a chief medical officer at St. Peter's Hospital for about 8 years. Had gone and gotten my MBA, and really was looking to cast my fortune. Albany's we used to call it Smallbany, and so if you want to grow professionally, sometimes you got to leave the comfort of where you've been for a long time.
Okay. So one of the things about these conversations that I really like is that they're free flowing, and so I'm just gonna stop for 1 second and let our production crew know that I have no idea how much time is on the clock. And hopefully they can address that as we pursue in our conversation.
Good. Well, otherwise we'll end up,
we
want to have said anything.
It'll be like a 2-hour interview, and they will want to stop us, and we just won't want to relinquish the microphone.
Yeah.
So, but I did notice that along the way you got a master's in counseling?
Yeah, master's and then EDS. When I started out in life, I thought I was going to go into education, be a dean of students or director of admissions, and so I went to graduate school for a couple of years. And little did I know, at that time, I can't say that I loved the program or I thought it was right for me, but a lot of what I learned then became very helpful as I transitioned into administration.
So you didn't start out with the idea that you were going to be a doctor?
No, no.
So you,
Yeah.
so no pre-med. You just
Well,
kind of.
I'll qualify that. My parents thought I should be a doctor.
Okay.
And so I did some
we're
courses,
talking.
but that
Yeah.
set me back. It set me back a couple of years until I finally came to the personal conclusion. You have to rebel a little bit.
Right.
This was the late '60s after all, and so.
Sure.
But then I came to the conclusion. Really, that's what I'm cut out to do, and it took me a little bit longer, a little bit harder to get into medical school, but it certainly has been so gratifying to me to be able to do that.
And what was your specialty when you were a practicing doctor? You don't practice anymore.
No, the last patient I saw, other than walking through the hospital, was about 4 years ago. But I practiced general internal medicine for about 10 years, solo private practice. I mean, who does that anymore?
Right, that's true.
Put up a shingle in Albany, but I found that I really was passionate about population health management, working with groups of people with diabetes to influence their outcomes of care, as opposed to, one-on-one, which was gratifying. But and I'm a social animal. I found that working in solo practice was I was alone.
Right.
As solo would suggest.
Yeah.
And the stimulation of working with other people within the hospital, improving the quality of care was really the driver behind my transitioning.
So you went over to work in the hospital, and one of the benefits was just having humans in your life.
Yeah, interaction.
One-to-one.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I know that in our old business, my wife's and my old business, there were many days when I might have been the only person in the store and the only person I saw for hours at a time, and was me.
It's isolating.
And
yeah.
It is very isolating.
Yeah.
So you end up spending a lot of time on the phone and making cold calls that way and stuff, just to, if nothing else, stimulate your brain a little bit.
Yeah.
So, and your wife, you and I've met Jill, and she's also from away, so maybe we could talk about that story too.
She's very clear, very articulate about her roots being from Brooklyn. So when people say, "Where are you from?" I'll often respond, "Albany," even though I grew up in Long Island. But she immediately corrects me and says, "Wait, no, I'm from Brooklyn." So let's be clear, she's proud of that, legitimately. I've been married for 42 years now. While others were going to their college graduation, we went and got married. So it's been
sort of at the exact same time.
that day, the same. Yeah.
So you skipped your college graduation
Yes.
to get married.
Yeah, and we never considered that maybe our parents would have wanted to go to graduation, but at that point,
Did they want to come to your wedding?
well, at least they supported that. I have to say.
Okay, well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Well, it's funny you say that because my wife watches all of these episodes, so I always say something that embarrasses me or her or both. But she's not a big graduation fan either, and I'm sure that we would have ended up prioritizing getting married over a graduation ceremony as well. But I don't know. I think I would have gone to my graduation. Anyway. So, and Jill, she has a very interesting business background, and that's something which I've just recently learned about, and it's a fascinating story about invention and entrepreneurship and running your own business in a way that is so totally unique. I thought we should maybe share that with our viewers a little bit.
I think it's a great story. And by professional background, she's a speech pathologist and worked in the VA for a number of years, had a private practice. But ever since I've known her, she's had an idea every week for something. She's published things, she's had different things go to market, but she had an idea a number of years ago to create a wrap that would go in a little bag, so when women were going
a shawl.
a shawl, kind
Okay.
of cape or a shawl, and when they would go from sweltering outside to cool inside, they could use this wrap as opposed to, here, take my jacket, or and she called it a chili jilly. And
Chili Jilly, I love
it's
that.
perfect, and went to market, did this all herself, promoted it, built the business, was on QVC, 40 or 50 times.
So she
Today
was
Show.
herself on QVC?
Yes.
So
yeah.
I just recently saw, what was the movie about? The
Oh,
woman on
Joy.
QVC? Joy.
Yes.
So
yeah.
she was on the stage rotating
we lived
around
that.
it.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. I was in the green room.
Oh, that's so great.
And she was on.
Yeah.
So I loved Joy. I don't know how many people loved
Yeah.
it, but it was,
thought
we
it was
could
great.
relate to it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was a great story.
And that's what she did.
Yeah. And everyone said, oh, you're so lucky, you have your own business, you must have a lot of free time. And, I'd get home from the hospital 7:30 or 8, and I'd be making dinner because she was still working. This was all absorbing, but a great story. And then we had grandchildren, and she said, enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's and how long ago was that?
About 5 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does the product still exist?
Oh yeah, yeah. If you go on chillijilly.com,
Yeah.
you'll see it. She sold it to a guy that we're still friendly with, and there were other products. There were Chili Jilly pants, and gloves and everything. We learned about manufacturing locally, manufacturing in China.
Yeah.
All of what a growth experience. I was a stock boy. That was my job. So
A little overqualified, maybe,
Right.
but you do what you can do,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Okay. That's just great. So, what's it like then, both of you coming from afar, somewhere else, and what would you say are your first impressions and lasting impressions of Nashua, of our community?
So I can tell you when we landed the day that I came in for an interview, and it was one of these fantastic days. It had snowed, but it was 45 degrees and sunny, and my wife said, I forgot how beautiful New Hampshire is.
Yeah.
Just getting off the plane, and because we were down in Tampa at the time. And so I've always loved the area. What I was looking for was a community where there was a strong community hospital. I could work with a good, outstanding medical staff, board, be embraced by the community, and it's met all of those expectations. It's been clear to me very much the right fit for me, and what I like to do, and how I go about business, the people I work with, have been really rewarding.
Right. It's funny you say that about landing in New Hampshire. I remember my first time landing here when I came up for my interview with the company I was working at the time, and first thing I noticed was the smell getting off the plane of trees, just the overwhelming smell of trees. We were coming from Texas and didn't smell any trees at DFW, that's for sure. And the second thing I noticed was everybody's wearing sweaters. And I called my wife and said, it's great. It smells like trees, and it's like all sweater people. And she noticed that as well when we moved here. So
It's very pleasant.
It's a great community, very, very nice. So the hospital, I wanted to talk a little bit about the hospital itself. St. Joseph's has been around, I don't know how long.
108
actually.
years.
108 years
Yeah.
in Nashua, under that name.
Yes, yeah.
Founded as, what's the story?
It's really a fascinating story to me. Obviously, Nashua had a large number of people from French-Canadian descent who came here to work in the mills. And there was a local priest who was ministering to them and said, I really need a hospital for this population that's here. So Father Henry Millette founded the hospital.
It's a French-Canadian name.
Yeah, great. And he invited, at that time, they were called the Grey Nuns of Montreal, to come down and help take care of the first hospital. And so in early 1900s, 1908, the hospital opened. We've had a school of nursing forever. It's had a very, very strong tradition of caring for the community, and that persists to this day. So it's been a solid community presence It's one of the things I like best about when I go out and, if I'm in Shaw's or somewhere, wherever I'm out and about, and somebody hears that I'm from St. Joe's, it's like, oh, I like it there. You guys are committed to the community, and
it's true.
It's always a very, very nice feeling.
And growing rapidly, I've noticed. Whenever you go to any of our outlying communities, you see a lot of sort of medical. I don't know what you would call them, sort of satellite offices or.
Yeah, we the hospital, the physical plant itself, in most cases has been the locus of activity. But over time, you put primary care and specialty practices, physical therapy, other services out and about, imaging, and so really now 75% of our revenue comes from outpatient stuff, and
That's
it's
amazing.
the evolution of healthcare. As fewer and fewer people require inpatient care, we're much more successful keeping them in the community. So that's where the locus of care is centralized.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I just noticed you have a new. I think one of your newest sites is up in
Merrimack. Yep.
Right.
Yeah. That's gorgeous.
I haven't been there.
I would love to work there.
Well, you need to talk to your boss about
Right.
it, I guess, or something. I don't know. But so one of the things I've noticed is that you and Jill have both become very involved with sort of giving back to the community in a number of different ways. I'd like to start out talking about what she's done and what you've done with the hospital with this group called, I think, Care with a Cause or Care for
Care
a
for a
Cause.
Cause. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe we can talk about that a little bit. What is that?
So we put together a committee of individuals in the community who have been supportive of the organization, wanted to be involved in building programs and bringing on services. One of the first things that we did was create it's called Joseph's Closet, and it's a facility where people can get durable medical equipment, walkers, wheelchairs, crutches, all of those kinds of things for free. And it works as kind of an exchange. People, bring, once they're done with it, if they don't need to use it anymore, they bring it there, we clean it up, we make some repairs, and then it's there for people to come kind of on a first come, first served basis. And in the first year, over 3,000 individuals served.
So any idea what sort of, can you dollarize that? What that would be in savings if somebody was to purchase all of that? Because that's very expensive
That stuff is expensive, yes. And when you think, I know, these cooler-like things that you use when you have knee surgery or shoulder surgery, they go for $300 or $400.
Right.
Even some of the splints are $80, $90, $100.
Yeah.
Now crutches are pretty cheap. They're, and canes are not very expensive. But wheelchairs are hundreds of dollars. Yeah. And then there are all sorts of different types of walkers. Rollators and things, and the price tag keeps going up. So, and the other piece is, a lot of people don't use it for long. So you either end up renting at a high price or purchasing, and then 4 weeks later, if you don't need it, what do you do with it? So that's actually our best source of equipment, is because people have it. Yeah. What am I going to do? I don't need a shower chair anymore. Let me donate it to Joseph's Closet. So
instead of throwing it away or putting it by the side of the road or something like that, or I think that's amazing. That's got to, the savings on that has got to be in the community in the hundreds of thousands of dollars if you do
easily. Yeah,
that's remarkable. And I know that this group is one characteristic of the group. I think it's all women.
Well, we had one man join, so he's kind of the odd guy. Yes. Up until a few weeks ago, that's accurate, Mike.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
So, all women and one brave soul.
Right.
And that the group. I know one of the characteristics of the group is that they also are sort of a group that very quietly just gets it done. Yeah. Not a lot of big hoopla, but they make a couple calls and they get the job done.
They're very capable individuals. A lot of them have, strong business backgrounds or other backgrounds, and they're dedicated to the organization. So they're very good at executing.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, they put together last year, really was the first year that we did something as a group, and we put together a program to raise funds for low-dose CT screening for lung cancer. Big need in our community. And in their efforts raised just about $150,000 to do that. And it's all what they did. I mean, this is, they took the ball and run with it and canvassed the community, wrote grants, went out and got donations, put together the event and sponsored it, and it was outstanding.
That's great.
Yeah.
I know you're working on now a partnership, I think, with the city.
Yep.
For a medical services van.
Yep. Mobile health and dental van. And this is a bit more ambitious than the low-dose CAT scanning program. We're going to be providing acute intervention services for individuals. We're not trying to be their primary care provider,
right.
But it will be for the city of Nashua and then the 11 surrounding communities in the Nashua Public Health
Right.
region.
Right.
We're working in partnership with the city, the Public Health Department. Riviera University is a big supporter and contributor. They're going to have nurse practitioner students and faculty on the van. We're going to provide a school-based dental screening program, providing sealants, hygiene, and fluoride treatments for kids who might not otherwise have access, immunizations, screenings. The expanded van is also going to have a licensed alcohol, drug, and abuse counselor to be able to start to take a bite out of the issues with substance abuse, opiates, and a lot of my career in medicine was working on outreach vans, downtown
Really?
Baltimore,
Yeah.
downtown Albany. What I learned was if you get into the community and provide direct access, you can build trust. People who would normally not access services for 1,000 reasons take the initiative and come out, and I think we can influence health outcomes for the greater region.
It feels less institutional.
Yes, yeah.
I
Not
think that's
judgmental,
amazing.
no one is concerned about finances, will be culturally competent, language-wise,
Right.
We have people who speak Spanish who are caregivers. We'll use language line for other dialects that we don't have that competency. So very, very geared towards bringing it to town.
That's an amazing project.
Yeah.
I'm so excited, and I know that Jill and I, we talked about it. We'd love to help out from United Way's perspective as well, whatever we can do to support that initiative.
Well,
too.
it certainly fits
great.
with the mission and values of United
does.
Way, and the safety net. I mean, we're looking at how we can support the safety net
Sure,
in
much
any way.
like we support the Greater Nashua Dental Connection. The
Exactly.
Same type of thing.
Yep. Yeah.
And I know.
And they're going to help us. We're not competing with them.
Oh,
No one should ever think that this
No,
really.
I'm
But D2B and I are together on this, along with Peter Kelleher, and I mean, Greg White
It's a
from
great
Lamprey.
community resource.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So a different tact, a little bit of a different subject, but also on the subject of giving back in unique ways. I understand you're going to be sleeping in a box on September 23rd with United Way.
Absolutely.
Maybe you can tell people about that. This is my gratuitous question of the day, right? Self-serving question of the day. But I thought maybe, what does that mean to you? What is that?
It's, the program is called United We Sleep, and we're beginning to build momentum, publicize, gain support, utilizing social media to find others who will participate. One of the things I like best about being on the United Way board is the group of people that I get to work with. They're outstanding. The sense of community and support is wonderful. And this program is designed to do several things. To raise consciousness of the plight of individuals who are homeless or at threat of being homeless, because that's important. I think lots of people don't see that up front and close, so we want to bring attention to that some of the challenges that people with mental health issues face in terms of housing and access to care. We want to draw attention to the challenges that they face. And so the idea behind sleeping in a cardboard box in front of Nashua Community College is that people driving by on Amherst Street and will see it as well, but to simulate in some small way what one night might be like for all of us who have the comfort of going back to something more comfortable. My only beef is the next night is my gala for the for our fundraiser. Well, so I'm going to have to nap during the day, Mike. That's the only challenge that I...
Well, we'll also give you time to go home and take a shower and stuff like that. This event for me goes back to, we did this a number of years. I don't know if I've shared this with you. With my wife and daughter, we did this about 15 years ago. My daughter was early middle school, and so adolescent girl. And we wake up in the morning, and you smell a little bit, you're dirty a little bit, your hair is messy, you haven't brushed your teeth, you're a little hungry, you're not really suffering, but you're also not in top shape. And I said, honey, now imagine you need to go to school now. And she thought about that for a minute, and then was really quite horrified about the idea of going and being in that social environment, being with her friends, not quite being put together as she would normally want to be. And when I was talking with her about what sort of events we can do at United Way, that was one of the very first things that she actually suggested.
She recalled.
Is you should do that sleeping in the box thing. Yeah. It was, for her, an eye-opening and kind of horrifying experience.
Yeah. So. Well, one of my recollections of working in the Capital City Rescue Mission is that one of the individuals said, "Rich, you think you're hungry when you miss a meal or two." Yeah. After 3 or 4 days, it takes on a whole different level. And so I think we'll get close to experiencing, but I think it's so that people understand, if I had to do this day in and day out, how would I exist?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what that means. So.
I keep telling everybody, as you know, I hope it rains. Right. I'm hoping for snow. It's not going to snow. It's September, but a little bit of rain and a little bit of misery would be good, I think, just to make it more of an experiential type of an event. We just a couple minutes left, believe it or not. I did want to sort of double back to the hospital.
Sure.
And the idea of philanthropy and giving back to the community with an eye toward what does that mean from a business case perspective? What's the business case for St. Joseph's really to participate in this community with the variety of things that you do?
I think of it in a couple of different lights. If I look at it strictly economically, I would say, well, we don't make our living necessarily from philanthropy or giving things away. Yeah. But the tremendous outpouring of support from this community and the surrounding area, when people say to me, we really appreciate what you do in the community, they're also telling me, when we need services, you're our hospital. We're happy that you're here. We appreciate that you give back and are a part of it. One of the things I'm proudest of is every single person on my leadership team, and I'm not just talking vice presidents, but directors, managers, has a role in a community function. Maybe up in Merrimack or in Wilton, but they are all individually committed to something in their community, and it says a lot about them and the organization. For us, it's our mission and values resonate with doing that, so it's integrated as part of our daily work. So we don't think of it as an aside or
it's not extra work.
A separate, not extra work. It's how we do our work, and I love that about the organization. The culture is very, very solid, and it's what makes it a nice place to work.
Well, you see that in a lot of the organizations where they really have a culture which is mission driven. That it's easy for them to align also around philanthropic. It just becomes part of doing business. It's not part of. It's not like that extra day once a month. It's like every day, and this is what we do.
Yeah. So we have, for instance, our own food pantry
Yeah.
that the employees contribute to and man, and it's just part and parcel of the fabric of who we are.
That's fantastic. It makes you an organization. St. Joseph's an organization to emulate. I would love to see a day when every organization, large and small, thought of themselves in the community in that way. And yourself and Jill, you guys are just unbelievable in how you give back to our community. I have really enjoyed getting to know you on our board and seeing all the things that you do as well.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, I do it because it is fun, and I enjoy the companionship, everything that we, never make a mistake there.
Yeah, and we get some good laughs too.
Yeah.
Especially when we're talking about sleeping in a box. Right. Nobody leaves the Mike Show without a parting gift, right? And,
great.
But nobody ever leaves with a very fancy parting gift, I have to add. So you get a day of carrying water bottle.
Wonderful, thanks,
Something
Mike.
to add to your collection. And of course, just in case you don't have enough Live United T-shirts, I was guessing large or extra large.
Well, and they shrink, because the one that I
do
have,
shrink,
right? So
I know.
it's good that I get a replacement, Mike. I have to say that right.
It's the uniform everybody has to wear.
Wonderful, thank you.
All right. Well, thank
Good.
you, Rich. I
really
appreciate you coming on today.
Happy to.
It's awesome, and for everything you do.
I'll see you in the next couple of days. All right.
It sounds great.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.